Dr. David, stress is around us all over in many organizations. Of course, the stress impacts the output. So how can emotional agility help in that situation?
So emotional agility absolutely helps with so many different aspects of stress. The first is that one of the most critical aspects of navigating stress effectively is to label your stress for what it is. Is it disappointment? Is it frustration? When we can put a label on what it is that we're truly experiencing, rather than calling everything stress, we become more effective. But more than that, so much of the narrative in organizations is how do we get rid of stress? What happens then is this idea of stress is that stress is an enemy. And people can start engaging in what we call type 2 thoughts about their stress. A type 1 thought is where you say, I'm stressed, like I'm feeling stressed about something. Type 2 thoughts are when someone says, and I'm stressed about the fact that I'm so stressed because I can feel, that I'm getting heart disease and I can feel these things. And what's fascinating is stress about stress has in some studies been shown to be more dangerous than the stress itself. So the stressing about stress and the layering in of stress about being stressed is actually what can cause so much harm. So from an emotional agility perspective, what I would say is this: show up to your stress. Open your heart up to the fact that I'm feeling stressed. You don't need to struggle with the idea that you're stressed or whether you should be or shouldn't be. You are feeling stressed. Try to label that stress for what it is in a nuanced way. But also recognize this: no one ever did anything meaningful in this world without some stress and some discomfort. Raising a child is hard. Leading an organization is difficult. Bringing the best of who you are to work can be challenging. No one ever did anything that mattered without some level of stress. So recognizing that and recognizing that sometimes your stress is actually you're doing something, putting yourself into discomfort, but in ways that is values congruent, and it's actually okay. As a friend of mine said, if you were planning on climbing Mount Everest, you would expect some cold, dark nights. But you don't get to climb Everest without having those dark nights as part of the journey. And it's the same with stress. Recognizing that I'm doing something that is important to me, as long as that is the case, that these tasks, these difficulties, this going into new space, new territory is part of what is values congruent. And so I can notice that I'm stressed, be compassionate about it, and still do what is important to me. One of the things that I talk about in the book is we often talk about in society, in culture, in organizations, conquering fear, conquering stress, getting rid of these things. There is no getting rid of fear. There is no getting rid of stress. It's part of life. But what we can do is we can recognize that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear walking. Courage is about feeling your fear, noticing it in a compassionate way, and still moving towards what is important to you. And the exact same can be said of our stress. There are many times that our stress is the price to pay for living a meaningful life.